Good morning. Welcome everyone in this executive cabinet meeting. First thing is monitoring of the decisions. Ian?
Yes, that came to follow. So if anybody has any comments or observations on that, and that's for noting. Nobody's indicating, Councillor Cram. So
Okay,
you have to note that.
Yeah, noted. And let me go on the next item. Sorry, I'm doing this on my phone. So
it's the Bolton electric vehicle delivery plan.
yes, please. Can you go ahead with the
Can I just state, Councillor, that the monitoring report has been updated by officers and is a true reflection of the current position of the projects that are currently ongoing.
Thank you. Noted. Next item, which is Bolton electric vehicle delivery plan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll take that one. So included in the report, you'll have a copy of the report and also a more detailed delivery plan document, councillors. So this is seeking approval. So we have significant funding of £2.3 million over two different funding streams. They've already been brought into our capital programme at the through the capital programme report, so they're already sitting in our capital programme. What we're seeking really is just approval of our delivery plan, which is to roll out, well, hopefully over 400 on-street charging units for electric vehicles. We've undertaken a very detailed study so far of to make sure that all wards would be covered by these 400 vehicle charging points. And what the intention of this is to do, it's going to focus on those areas that don't have driveways, which are prohibiting electric vehicle ownership to some of those homeowners who want an electric car but don't feel like they're able to charge them or benefit from the cheaper rates that you get from charging from home. So through a sort of collaboration and working with some suppliers, we've identified that we can install 400 charge points over a 2-year plan. So 150 will be installed before the 31st of March 2026, with a further 250 installed the year after. And this is obviously all tied to our transport strategy as well. And I don't think there's anything else within that report that I need to cover, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dwayne. Any questions on this?
No one indicating, Councillor Cram.
Nobody is indicating. So report is noted and approved.
Okay, recommendations approved. Okay.
Yes. Approved.
Next one is Bolton schools.
There is a question.
Councillor Rod indicating.
Yeah, just a couple of points, yes. Please, Dwayne. You suggest they'll be spread across the 20 wards. I think my question is, what's the selection criteria and how do we know that's going to be done with fairness and uniformity? And my other one was in option 3. I'm a little bit concerned about the statement that says target's greatest need is the selection criteria. I think it's just a very ambiguous statement, in all honesty. You know, I just have concerns about whether or not how it'll be administered, how it'll be managed, and where that emphasis would come from. If you could just give me some indication on that, please.
Yeah, happy to take that one. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I thank you, Councillor. Obviously it's not possible, and we have this conversation whenever we get funding, it's not possible to do an absolutely equal split across all the wards, and that's the point that's reflected in it's about need. So there are wards with significant areas of housing that don't have driveways and don't have that opportunity. So although there will be infrastructure across all of the wards, and that's the commitment that's in the plan, there's going to be fewer in those wards where residents do have the opportunity for off street and for charging the vehicles on their own driveway. So that's the reflection in the report around need. And I suppose it is just probably appropriate to mention at this point as well that because this infrastructure is going in the footway, so what we can't do, we have some of those areas that we do have across, certainly closer to the town centre, we'll have a lot of on-street parking, which will be pavement parking. Now, in those areas, it won't be appropriate to install any infrastructure because there isn't the room to have because we don't want to be doing is restricting some of the parking for those residents because there's nowhere else to park their vehicles. So we'll only be putting infrastructure in where it's appropriate, where we don't have pavement parking, where we can still get the safe widths for people to walk past. So there's a lot of assessment that's been done. We've identified the 400 points already through some quite detailed studies. We've got DVLA kind of information as well around where electric vehicles are presently owned, and maybe where some of the statistics are showing that some vehicles or people have actually inquired with the council. So I don't know if you're aware, but we've been running a trial at the moment with some other installers and suppliers where we would waive the permits to enable people to put a cable across the footway, and we have like a cable tray built in the footway. They're constantly working with a couple of those suppliers. So we've got a lot of intelligence as well from residents who want to buy electric cars. Maybe can't afford that kind of infrastructure because it does come at a cost, even though we waive our costs, it does come at a cost to those residents. So it's just enabling them to benefit from electric vehicle and charge it at the cheaper rates that you would get from charging from home. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Councillor.
Yeah, so it goes a long way to it, let's say that. I've got a long-term view on alternative fuel due to the very nature of the industry that I'm in. And I just wondered, could this be a pathway that could be borough-wide? I think we saw last month the purchase of 9 LGVs with gritters that are diesel powered. I just wondered what there was a consideration to move to electric in the future for all powered vehicles across the council, and if so, is this a starting gateway?
I think it's well, Gary's put his hand up. I think it's an aspiration that we'd love to move to alternative fuels, but that comes at significant cost, which is why we're installing these on-street parking to enable people. There's blockers to people owning electric vehicles at the moment, so that's why we want to put this infrastructure in for our residents, and all the borough will be covered by these charge points. But Gary, do you want to come in on our fleet aspirations?
Yeah. So to answer your that sort of question, Councillor, we've got Alistair Burns on the call, who's far more qualified in this subject than I am, but Alistair's in the final stages of drafting a fleet replacement strategy, and that looks at our fleet in its entirety and looks at what our future needs are based on units themselves and propulsion systems and fuels. So that's in there. We've considered diesel, HVOs, we've considered electric, but then when you look at the drawdown required and the infrastructure we've got, we have to factor in the cost of the works, which I'm sure you're incredibly familiar with. And it's not just a case of replacing a vehicle, it's replacing the infrastructure, it's the training around it, it's the redo of the stores. And the other thing to note is if you look at our bigger pieces of kit, which is always going to be our refuse collection vehicles, we're currently paying circa 250 per unit for a refuse collection vehicle. You're probably looking at double that for an electric vehicle, and I think, and Alistair will correct me if I'm wrong, between £800,000 and £900,000 for a hydrogen vehicle. So those drop-in fuel solutions or hydrogen, electric, they're all in consideration and will form part of that fleet replacement strategy, which then factors in our sort of climate ambitions and the costs attached to that.
We're all between a rock and a hard place on it, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
I've just bought another raft of diesel because there's just nothing in the market that's ready and good to go. So
Yeah, I mean, there are authorities out there testing electric fleet, and I think we have tried some, and we've got an ambition to try more and introduce more. But the reports coming back are a bit of a mixed bag, and it's whether or not we tick one box but place a cross in another. It's getting that balance correct, isn't it, between service delivery, what is correct in line with our ambitions, and what is financially viable.
Affordability is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. There's no more indication, so let's move to the next item.
Yeah,
which is School Street.
You've agreed the report, haven't you, Councillor Cram? Yes. You've agreed the recommendations on the.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Just clarify. Thank you.
Yes.
School streets, then.
So next item is School Street.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take that one as well. So this is just to inform members of the School Street scheme and the need that we have to draw down the funding from colleagues at TFGM. We have to sign a delivery agreement. The delivery agreement has to be approved by a cabinet member. So members will recall that regionally we signed up to a Vision Zero strategy last year, and part of the road safety and achieving Vision Zero is ensuring that we've got safety around our schools. One way of ensuring we've got safety around our schools is to implement a school street. And the mayor, or the regional mayor, Andy Burnham, also made a commitment that he wanted to deliver 100 school streets across the region this financial year. So there was some funding set aside. In the report it states there's £120,000, and that £120,000 is to help establish those school streets around those schools. And members will probably be aware, or if hopefully you're aware, that we have a school street in operation very successfully, St Peter's School in Farmouth, which is a primary school, and they close it one day a week. And that's managed by the school. So once it's all established, and Joe's on the call, but his team will provide all the equipment that's necessary, all the training that's necessary to the school staff and volunteers like the parents, and then we hand it over to the school, and we'll do all the less necessary legal orders as the council as well to make sure that that road can be closed, and then we hand it over to the schools to manage that school street, and it's their choice whether they can do it 5 days a week or 1 day a week, and we will work with them to administer it. So there is a kind of handover to the school. There's no ongoing cost to the council once these are established. The report does mention some of the schools which have indicated interest in this, and colleagues will continue those conversations and see if we can support them to meet their aspirations. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes.
Thank you very much, Ryan. We're all in favour of improving safety around schools, I'm sure. And living right next to a major school, I'm very conscious of some of the problems. Two minor questions before I get on to a major one. Are other schools able to apply to join? Will more funding be available? Do we know that yet?
I mean, we would happily take any kind of. I mean, so initially, following the mayor's announcement, we had a lot of schools contact us, and we're always interested in talking to any schools. You'll be aware of our Road Safety Ambassador scheme, and so Sue, who works in Joe's team, is absolutely fantastic. She's in touch with all the schools. So any schools who have an interest in working with us to deliver a school scheme, absolutely. And there will. I think this is a commitment, hopefully over a number of years, to kind of like create road safety around all of our schools, which is why I mentioned the Vision Zero strategy at the start of this. So absolutely, ask if any of the governors or if any of the head teachers want to contact myself or Joe, we'd welcome it.
And we hope funding will be available, but we obviously can't guarantee it. No,
we can't be guaranteed, but TFGM did support with the establishment of St Peter's at Farmouth. They are supporting with implementing these schools, and we'd be seeking to carry this on and deliver more in the future.
Okay. Also on finance, what about penalties? It may be the scheme is proved to have to be dropped. We remember the Wands issue on Chorley New Road, for example. There was evidence, I think, that funding was recouped from the council, and I think there's some belief that we may have suffered for funding after that. Is there a proposal here to recover any funding if one of these schemes is found not to be viable after a while?
I'm not sure, to be honest. So what we normally do, where the way we administer, so we will clearly report back money that's been spent from the £120,000 grant to TFGM. Now, what they would normally do is, using your example before, they'll say, well, if you're not able to spend it this financial year, we'll roll it over with agreement, we'll roll it over into next financial year, and you can talk to other establishments, or maybe they'll top it up so we can work with other schools. It's unusual that they actually want to claw back or draw back any funding that they've administered to us. Normally they'll let us roll it on to future years, but we do have to seek approval for doing that and to make sure that our accounts are aware for audit purposes as well.
Okay, that's fine. The main point I had, and I wrote to you, and thanks for your reply. I was very concerned about the with ward councillors. I mean, we in Smithills are already still suffering from the Transport for Greater Manchester foul up the traffic scheme on Chorley Old Road, which is still causing massive problems because they knew better than the local councillors what would happen. They did seem to learn a bit when we went for another scheme in Smithills, but I am concerned that ward councillors know the area very well and should not be bypassed. And I would urge the executive member, if he approves this, to approve it subject to full consultation with ward councillors about each individual scheme.
Chair, if you're happy for me to come back on that point, Councillor, just so you're aware, part of our governance will be signing the traffic regulation order, which the ward councillors all have to be in agree with. So, absolutely, no school streets can be implemented without ward councillor approval. It's part of our governance process anyway.
But that could be quite late in the process. Once people decided what the TRO should be. I mean, for example, the school in Smithills, I don't want to go into a lot of detail about it, but we had a massive problem with parking on the roads, the roads by the school. And we, at our own cost in the ward, actually paved and lit a path through from from Smithills Dean Road. We implemented TROs on Limefield Road, which to an extent helped improve the scheme. Now I'm worried that money may go down the drain with some changes to it, but we need to know fairly early. That's what I'm saying. But I do appreciate the feedback from you and from Joe on what's actually proposed there.
Thank you.
Councillor Friedcroft.
Thank you, Councillor Cram. I'd just like to say that I live next door but one to St Peter's School, and I think that the school street that they've had, and it's still ongoing, works really well. It did have teething problems at the beginning. I still think, Joe, can you tell me, did they get permission to extend it to include Phoenix streets? I'm sure they did, but they haven't extended it yet. So I'm gonna peck Chris's head. It does work really well. The parents are really in favour of it. And it's a temporary thing. It lasts for 45 minutes in the morning, and I think it's half an hour of an afternoon. And parents or school come out with the signs, the high-vis jackets, and then when school's finished, it's all gone away. It's not like it's a permanent fixture. I think it works really well, and I know that Kersey West are really in favour of doing this, and I think it would work perfectly at Kersey West as well for that particular location in the cul-de-sac. And it is about keeping children safe at the end of the day. I think it's good.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Webb.
Thank you, Chair. My point's really in support of what Councillor Hayes has said. There are concerns within our group that this process appears to be putting the cart before the horse, whereby, as Councillor Hayes has just said, ward councillors or elected members are going to find out a little bit, in our opinion, too late in the process. Our question would be, would Councillor Karam consider a deferment until there's been consultation with elected members in their respective wards before making a decision on this, please?
Sorry, whilst we're just waiting for the chair to come back to that point, councillor. So the schools that are named within the report have all approached the council as being interested. So obviously it's the schools that have to administer this. They're taking on significant responsibility to administer this in the future and to do all the liaison with their own parents. But there's no foregone conclusion. It's just those have just expressed an interest to the council. Now, obviously, we want to be working with those schools who want to do this, because we've got, I can't remember how many primary schools. There's a significant number of primary schools across the borough and we get inundated with complaints. We've had to send civil enforcement officers out to schools when they all went back in September. We have lots of threats of physical abuse to teachers, to physical abuse to those our civil enforcement officers. And by administering and working with the parents and the schools to remove cars from the area, remove all that danger, is absolutely the right thing to be doing. So as part of the, just to be clear, on part of the approval process, before any prior to any public consultation, it's always our processes to reach out to the ward councillors. So nothing will be done to nothing will be implemented, nothing will be agreed until the ward councillors have been fully consulted. But it is just to express the point that it's the schools that have approached us, and the schools are keen to be doing this. And I'd hate to kind of like think that we'd be refusing the schools based on sort of like a consultation. We've got to be working with those establishments that want to do this. We'd love to implement it over the 60 or however primary schools we've got across the borough. Not all of them are going to be possible because some are on main roads, but those ones that do express an interest, I would like to think we would want to work with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hayes, your hand is up.
I'm trying to lower the hand, actually, but
All right.
not managing to.
So that's fine. Thank you. There is no more questions. So report is noted and approved as recommended.
As in the report. Okay, right.
Yes. Sorry, one second.
Both councillors Hayes and Webb are indicating Councillor Karam.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Webb.
Yeah, in light of the decision by Councillor Karam on this matter, I would like to call this in for further scrutiny, please.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Hayes.
As I say, I was trying to lower my hand, Executive Member, but I would agree with Councillor Webb. But that's all I would say.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's noted. So the next item is provision of supply and fit of tyres and associated services.
That's me, Chair. Thank you, Ian. I'd like to pull this report, and apologies for that late move, but it looks like the version that I've asked you to consider isn't the right version. It's not signed off. I believe we have got a version which is signed off, but the version in front of you that we're asking you to consider isn't showing that. So apologies, it's an error that sits with me, and I'd like to pull this report and move the report so you've got the correct version to consider at the next ECM.
Do you want to do mine while you're at it, Gary?
All right. So, okay, that's withdrawn then. Okay. That's fine. That's all business, Councillor Karam.
That concludes the meeting. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you. And sorry again for the initial delay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank you, Chair.
recording.
Thank you, councillors.
Thank you.
Recording has stopped.